All right, so we finally passed 1,000 rounds on the Stribog, the SP9A3. But on this one, I had a little bit of help getting through this 1,000 round bucket of vellum right there with a couple of people that you may have seen. I finally got a chance to actually get out on the range and hang out with Tactical Toolbox and Mr. Big Kid. If you guys want to check their channels out, I will leave their links down below in the description, but gotta say it was a ton of fun. All right, on with the video. So the Stribog, I was about to say Borg, I called it Borg like 5 times in the last video, like it was like Star Trek, like Borg or something. I promise not to do that in this video. We're just gonna call it the Bogue from now on as we go through the video and talk about how this thing is wearing in and everything that's been going on in the past 1,000 rounds. Now it seems to be with the Stribog, either the SP9A1 all the way through the A3, people either kind of love it or hate it. It was probably about a year and a half ago, I got this one, the Banshee from CMMG. It's also a roller delay blowback thing on there. And I gotta say, this thing is just absolutely awesome. But it's quite a bit more expensive than the Stribog. So people have gone back and forth on which version they like. They want an AR style one, or they want complete, you know, kind of different style like this with different controls. And that's really a personal decision. But the Bog does offer some really cool stuff that other things like AR9s just don't. And when it comes to the Bogue, there have been some people that have had some serious issues with the magazines, but we have the new curved ones. So let's see how those worked out just a little bit more. So now that we've seen a good amount of that range footage, let's go ahead and see the wear and tear on Slovakia's finest right there, the Stribog SP9A3. Talk about the wear and tear and all of that good stuff that you want to know, especially when dealing with the different bolts, or a couple different versions, couple different generations. This one is marked a specific way and you need to kind of pay attention because some of it might help, some of it may not. We're gonna get into this thing and check all that stuff out right now. All right, the 1,000 round follow-up on the Stribog SP9A3. I just love the way this thing looks, especially now that we have those I think they're Gen technically 4 curved magazines. Thing looks absolutely awesome. So if you want that like kind of manufacturer specs, I'm gonna list those over here for the most part, but all that stuff is in the original review, which I will link down below. For the purposes of today's video, we're going to be talking about the wear and tear internally on the bolt. This is the US bolt version. There's a couple of different degrees of bolt variation that we're going to talk about as well. Possible malfunction that you need to watch out for, and then a little bit later we'll talk about how to properly clear malfunctions on this thing. We'll talk about, of course, the different generations of magazines, just the overall wear on it, and then kind of what's in the future, and of course the cost of the SP9A3, and then kind of has, you know, how it's set up here with the brace and all that. So if you guys like this thing or what's going on here, definitely let me know in the comments. But of course, get subbed up, get belled up down there, turn those notifications to all on, and all this stuff will be listed in the build list should you want to check any of it out. So we will deal with that in just a second. Let's talk about buffer assembly. So this buffer here is much like if you've ever done work on a car, your body mounts or the shocks, or kind of like a Delrin style plastic or something in there. No wear, nothing we wouldn't expect, good to go there. It's a recoil spring assembly. Talking about the lower here, you can see just the wear points, like on the hammer, you know, a little bit here on the bolt lock, a little bit more on the right side of it, but nothing in here we wouldn't expect. The polymer's holding together fine, pins are fine. Everything in the trigger mechanism is working great. We'll do some pulls here in a second. Just your basic wear, which we should all expect really at that point, that you could possibly have in your bolt. So this is the US marked version. And then right here, hopefully the camera can get that without glaring too bad. You'll see mine is marked right here on the end, 45 degrees. So there is also a 40-degree version, which is supposed to help with some of that lower power ammo. But all in all, I've had a great experience running just basic range ammo through this thing. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. So talk about the wear on this real quick before we put it to the side. You can see basic wear on this, nothing we would not expect, just coating wear. No gouges, nothing like that. So as far as the bolt goes right here, you'll see a couple of areas where it's kind of like, you know, right along here, you'll kind of see like a little bit of like a chip, but it's not really linear wear, kind of along that area. Almost kind of like there were some little burrs on it that just got knocked off. Same kind of right there. It looks like it skipped just a tiny bit. But other than that, it's telling you basically where it wants lubrication and everything, kind of in the corners, you know, along this portion of it, along right here. You know, any part that's really seeing some serious wear or coating wear, that's where you need to concentrate on your lube. Really though, besides maybe a couple of those little kind of knocks right there, which looks, it's not a gouge, it almost looks like maybe there was a tiny burr, it took that off and the coating went with it. Nothing else going on there that we shouldn't expect. Charging handle assembly, everything there is good. The one thing to pay attention to is that portion in here, I'll turn it over so you can see it, that the charging handle is connected to. That's actually polymer, that's not metal, so you need to kind of keep an eye on that for heat distortion. As far as the rest of the upper receiver here goes, we can see just basic coating wear, and that is going to be the same for the inside, which is going to be really tough to see down in there. But you're just seeing basic wear. Nothing that we wouldn't expect, much like your favorite AR or anything else. Nothing abnormal. So I'm gonna throw this together off camera and we are gonna do some trigger pulls. All right, so I wanna show you that malfunction I was talking about, something to keep an eye for, and then we're gonna talk about how you kind of want to change maybe the way you clear malfunctions if you're gonna be running the Stribog. So it is possible, you can see this is gonna be a dummy round, that depending on what you have, maybe you get a stovepipe or a misfeed or something like that, that this could actually fall down into the trigger group on the A3 model. So the previous version had a little bit of a different bolt, but I'm gonna hold the bolt back here. It's gonna be a little bit tough because I'm having to do this half on and half off camera. And I'm just gonna drop this straight back and it's going to get lodged down into the trigger group. As you can see, it's back down in there pretty good, but it's way back in there. You can't even see it, which is why I wanted to use an orange one. So if you should get that, what you have to do is basically hold the charging handle all the way back. You kind of got to shake forward and you'll see that round come right there and then just tilt down like so and it will pop out. So that is something you want to keep an eye out for, especially if you are having malfunctions with your Stribog. Let's do some trigger pulls and we'll talk about how you want to clear this, the angles and everything you want to do in a little bit. We'll go ahead and start doing the trigger pulls so you can see kind of how this trigger is wearing in, and we'll see if it's loosened up at all. I want to say it feels almost pretty much exactly the same as when we started with this here. Okay, so first pull right there is a pretty good one, about 5 pounds and 6 ounces. We will do 3 as long as we don't see anything really weird, or as long as I don't screw something up here. Trying to pull from the same place. And I do pull low on that trigger shoe because that's where I try to get my finger. So same kind of thing right there. We're seeing about 5 pounds and 6 ounces, maybe a tiny bit under, which is really, quite honestly, what this trigger feels like. It's not the greatest, but it's definitely not the worst. And then we'll kind of take an up close look at it here in just a second. That one a little bit higher, but I pulled a little higher in the shoe, so that was 6. So we're gonna call that user error right there. Now let's take a good look at the actual brake and everything here. So you can see a little bit, you can kind of hear it, a little bit of play in that trigger assembly. And here goes the pull, a little bit of a creep there, roll, brake. So not terrible. Okay, a little bit of a roll, creep, brake. Overall, not too shabby. So let's talk about the cost of this thing, the mods that might be upcoming, the availability of parts, because it has taken off. There's a lot more stuff available for this. And of course, talk about how to actually clear a malfunction out of here so you can avoid some problems. So I had this thing out the other day. It was kind of out in the kitchen and my wife sees it and she's like, oh, that thing is so cute. You know, I was like, cute? You know, I was like, come on. So I throw that brace out like that and kind of show her, you know, how to hold it and everything. She's like, oh yeah, not so cute. And then she folds it back over and she's like, yeah, that's cute. Me, I'm kind of in my head thinking, well, it's cute. Nah, I was like, well, at least she just likes it, which is pretty cool to begin with. All right, so before we get into the likes and the dislikes and the future plans for this thing, I want to talk about that malfunction and a better way to do some clearance on it. So there's a bunch of videos of people out there having that problem. So if you're used to an AR or something like that, we have a tendency to tilt up and run, the charging handle, or come over and run the opposite side if you're an AK guy. With a Bogue, it's a little bit different. When you have a malfunction like that, you're gonna want to actually kind of angle it down and out like this. So if you're a righty, it's easy. You just kind of go down and like that. If you're a lefty, you'll kind of have to cant like this, and then you want to work that action that way so you don't have the opportunity for that casing to go back down into where the trigger group is. And I know it's kind of a pain in the butt and it's a little bit different. And then the earlier versions had like a rod that was connected to the bolt that would actually stop that from happening. It also happened with the AK9 or AK variant that Palmetto put out, changed the design of that. So it would be great to have the same kind of thing in here if it would block that casing or even the live round from getting in the action, but it can still happen with the SP9A3, so you definitely need to pay attention to that and definitely pay attention to how you attempt to clear those malfunctions. Now let's go ahead and cover my dislikes first. The first big one for me is gonna be the grip angle, but we're gonna talk more about grips in the mods here in a second, but it's kind of like an A2 style AR grip. So as you can see, this thing is so short that you can see the angle my wrist is at. My wrist does not like being at that much of an angle. I prefer much more of a straighter profile grip, like a K2 grip from Magpul or something, just something that's got a less degree of angle because it just messes with my wrist being on there. That's not gonna be a problem for everybody. That's just something that's specific to me. Now, number 2 on my list of dislikes here is the safety. Yes, it's ambidextrous. Yes, it's big enough, but not too big. It's kind of short, but here's the problem with me. So when I try to activate this, because I keep my hand tight and high in there with my finger, it just jams into the side of my hand. So I have to like reposition and then get back into position to activate and deactivate the safety. So that's kind of a thing. The bigger hands you have, the more issues like that you're gonna have. Not going to affect everybody, but that's why I go with like the Raptor, the Radian safeties on all of my ARs, because they're just perfect. You can swap it lefty, righty, whatever you are. You got the stubby on one side, and it's the perfect size. So I know there's some aftermarket stuff for these, which we'll talk about in a second, but that is the other thing that just kind of bugged me. And that is really, I guess you could say, personal preference. But if you got the bigger hands, keep an eye out for that. As far as all the positives for this thing, there's a lot of them. One, easy to store, nice compact package, 9mm, shoots very soft. Very consistent out there. It's a ton of fun and it's just easy. So the operating system in here, the breakdown, the cleaning, everything, it is super simple. It is so basic and it just has such minimal parts that it's very easy for any of us at any level to work with. And I love simplicity, especially when it comes in a very cool looking package like this that performs as well as this thing has out on the range. So before we talk about the price of kind of how this one specifically is set up, let's talk about the mods and the future plans for this thing, because there's a lot of stuff out there now. There are people making complete lowers, different safeties, different charging handles, whole different carrier systems in there. There's a lot going on with the Bogue right now because it has gotten very, very popular for good reason. It's a lot of fun. Now, depending on what you want to do with this, the sky's the limit. You can leave it stock or you can go the full Monty. I think I want to do some craziness to this because it's just a ton of fun. Now let's talk about the cost of this thing. So the Bogue alone, so just this, no optic obviously, and no folding brace, is gonna be right under like 1,100 bucks. I want to say it was like 1,094 or something like that. So for that price, I'm gonna say on something like this, you've got to want it. You gotta want it to spend that kind of money on a dedicated 9mm pistol caliber carbine. But then again, you take a look at the Banshee again right here. This one I want to say is like 14 to 1,600 or maybe even a little bit more, depending on where you can find it and if you can even find them right now. So it's always going to be a give and take between, do you want it bad enough to pay the price for it? Now, if you want to go ahead and add this sweet little folding brace right here, that is going to cost you about $174. Now there are several different versions that vary in price, from a little bit cheaper to way more expensive, and that is all gonna be personal preference. The one thing I will say is this brace is actually pretty good, pretty cool, and it works very well. And the fact that you can have this thing folded over, still run it. You might have a little problem with some deflection in here as if you're trying to run it folded. Some of the other braces might be a little bit better with being able to extract and eject those rounds than this one. But overall, it did work. It just didn't work if I started really mag dumping. Love it. So if you're interested in any of that stuff and some of the other options as far as braces, that'll all be in the build list. Support for the channel along with my Patreons. Thank you guys all very much. And thank you to Global Ordnance. I said it in the last video. I don't know if I said it earlier, but they did send this out to the channel along with the ammo. I have no relationship with Grand Power. It's just, I wanted to check this out, and Global Ordnance was cool enough to send it to me. So it's been a ton of fun. So huge thank you to them. Well, that is what I've got for you today. Let me know if you think that this thing is as cute as my wife does in the comments down below, or what your experience has been with the Stribog, either the 1 all the way through the 3. You guys make sure you get subbed up, get belled up, turn those notifications down there, that little bell icon to all on, so you get the notifications when the video comes out. Thank you guys all for hanging out here in the comments and everything, all that stuff, huge support. That build list is down below. And remember, you guys get out there, have some fun on the range. And if you stay ready, even if a cute little thing like this keeps you ready, you ain't got to get ready. I'll see you guys on the next one.